What is up, you guys? My name is Nick and welcome to my channel where I cover all things entertainment. Whatever you're watching, I'm making videos about. And it's been a whole hot second since I've made a horror movie recommendations video, so let's talk about Tubi. I gotta give a huge shout out to Rita in the comments for getting my ass on Tubi. I'm telling you, I was doing my video on the best horror on Peacock and I was just like, this is garbage, this is terrible. So I thought I better check out that other free ad-supported streaming service, see what it's all about. And well, you can compare the two videos, folks. It is like night and day. Tubi is the streaming service you want to be spending your time on. And if you don't have Tubi in your area, well, let me just say there are so many good movies here on this list. This is probably the best horror movie recommendations list I've put together for any streaming service. So stick around because we've got a lot to talk about. I have broken it down to 10 horror movie recommendations, but with an honorable mention because I have to let you know that they have both seasons of Showtime's Masters of Horror. This is an anthology series from the 2000s that features episodes directed by a slew of reputable horror directors, from John Carpenter to Stuart Gordon. Each episode takes on a different horror, so there is something for everyone here. I'll admit the entire show does not hold up overall. A lot of the episodes feel like Skinamax trying to be horror, but you might want to give these a watch in case you're looking to appreciate the work of all of these incredible horror directors, or if you're just there for the cheesy 2000s goodness. Speaking of Masters of Horror, let's talk about Dario Argento's first feature film, The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. In it, an American writer in Rome witnesses a stabbing and becomes sucked into an investigation into a murder spree, and our protagonist might be the next target. A lot of people will say this is a thriller. Personally, it's all the same to me. This doesn't have a lot of action or scares or a high body count, none of that, but it is so exceptionally well shot. Every frame is like a photograph. And it helps solidify the giallo genre, which would go on to influence the slasher genre, and for that alone, I think this is a must watch. At number 9, I have Creep, not the found footage horror film that I mentioned in my Netflix video, although I love that in its sequel, but I also like this one too. Franca Potente from the Bourne Identity movie stars as a woman living in London who is heading home on the subway one night when she is attacked by a mysterious creature. She becomes trapped in the labyrinthine subway system with the creature hot on her trail. This is a pretty simple, easy breezy creature feature, but the best of them always are. At number 8, I want to talk about Alice Sweet Alice, another 70s thriller that would go on to inform the slasher genre. In fact, if you liked The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, I would argue that Alice Sweet Alice is one of those very rare American films that feels like a giallo. In Alice Sweet Alice, a young girl is murdered during her communion at church, and her older sister Alice is believed to be the main suspect. But as bizarre and violent events continue to occur, those around Alice have to figure out what exactly is going on. At number 7, I have The Broken. This is gonna be the one that makes you hate me, but you know what? I love it, so I have to talk about it. The Broken is a psychological thriller starring Queen Cersei herself, Lena Headey, as a woman who believes that she sees herself driving her own car down the street one day. She follows the woman that looks just like her and ends up spiraling into a mysterious drama. This is one that is slow, with little action, and it doesn't really answer the questions that it poses. But something about this movie just really sticks with me. This was actually featured in the After Dark Horror Fest one year. Does anyone remember that?
For the first time, one studio will defy the system to bring you 8 movies you were never meant to see. A terrifying event for horror fans across America. After Dark Films presents 8 films to die for. Horror Fest.
But this is not nostalgic love I have for it. In fact, the first time I saw it, I didn't like it. I was like, what the hell was that? But something about it kept me coming back, and I now can just fully admit that I love this movie, even though it is very interesting and unexplained. I think that's what makes it very interesting to me, and I love anything that has to do with doppelgangers. The Broken, it might not be for everyone, but let me know in the comments if I'm alone on this one. At number 6, I want to talk about Pulse, better known as Cairo, a Japanese horror film from the early 2000s that's about a bunch of suicides that leads a group of friends to believe that the dead are trying to invade the real world world through the internet. On paper, that sounds ridiculously stupid, but this is one that always stuck out to me as having better character work and storyline than most supernatural thrillers. It might just be me, but I would put this over Ringu and Ju-on. At number 5, I have Midnight Meat Train, another one that you might hate me for, and also another subway set horror film. You might want to pair this with Creep, do yourself a little double feature. Bradley Cooper stars as a photographer living in New York City who becomes obsessed with a serial killer who stalks his victims on the subway. This movie is extremely violent, very gory. I'd say it's pretty much only for gorehounds, but gorehounds who like some story. I will say this movie has a very divisive ending. It's one that probably everyone hates the movie for. I don't know, it really works for me. I don't want to spoil it, I'm just going to talk around it. I just feel like that ending frames the whole movie into something that I feel like is bigger than I thought it would be, and I just find it really interesting. It definitely pulls the rug out from under you, and it really gets bonkers and intense, but I think that's what makes me love it. And this is why I love Tubi. They have all of my favorites. At number 4, I want to talk about May, a psychological horror drama from director Lucky McKee that stars Angela Bettis as May, a lonely young woman who is desperate to make friends, but held back by her socially awkward nature. So she tries to do what any psychopath would do and cut up the best parts of the people around her to stitch them together into the ultimate companion. I probably should not have seen May when I was 12, but I'm really glad that I did, because this one has always stuck with me, because the entire movie is really focused on May as a character. I love character study horror, and I love that this movie infuses so much empathy in this main character that even though she becomes the villain, you feel for her as a protagonist, which helps solidify this as a contemporary Frankenstein tale. I had to squeeze some 80s horror in here at one point, so at number 3, I have The Stepfather, a horror thriller about a man who murders his entire family and escapes to take a new identity and start over again with a single mother and her daughter. Loosely based on the true story of spree killer John List, this movie is too creepy for words. I think this gets lumped in with the 80s slashers, but it isn't much of a slasher, so slasher fans don't really talk about it, and then other regular horror fans don't really talk about it, and I think we all need to be talking about it. This is another character study horror that really gets under your skin. This movie is just, I'm telling you, it is so creepy, it is so well done. It's also really nice and short. It's an easy breezy creep fest that checks off all the boxes.
He scares me, Dr. Pondering.
Who am I here?
Help me! Help!
You're a very bad girl.
The Stepfather.
At number 2, we have to talk about Starry Eyes. I may have already mentioned this in my video on horror on Amazon months ago, but this movie is so damn good, I'm gonna talk about it all the time. Sarah is a struggling actress living in LA when she gets the opportunity to audition for a low-budget horror film. She is continuously called back by the producers, and every time she is pushed further to her limit in terms of what she will do to get this role. I don't want to say anything else because I think that this movie is a total ride, and I'm just realizing it would make for an interesting double feature with May. I'm getting all these double features for you guys. You got to be entertained. But this movie is so good. It really does everything. Talk about another movie that checks off all the boxes. This has psychological horror, it has gore, it has social commentary if you want that in your horror films. I will say it plays out like this interesting character study for the first maybe hour or so, and then things get wild. So definitely stick around if you're feeling a little bored or whatever. Trust me, it gets there. As far as I'm concerned, this movie is practically perfect. It is only slightly less perfect than my number 1 pick. At number 1, I have It Follows, one of my all-time favorites. You know, I'm telling you guys, we got a lot of good stuff in the 2010s. I personally think it was the best decade for the genre since the 80s. In It Follows, Micah Monroe plays a young woman who has sex with a guy that she's been seeing when he shocks her by informing her that he has passed on an entity to her that will take the form of any person, and it will follow her until it catches and kills her. The only way to get get rid of this entity is to have sex with another person and to pass it on. But if that person is caught by the it, then it will continue down the line and come back for her. This is so much more than the STD horror film. However, I have to say I really like the way that it tackles the subject of handling young people grappling with the consequences of even their harmless actions. And I'll never forget the movie theater going experience I had watching this for the first time. It was probably the best theater going experience I've ever had. It was so good. I have never been so afraid of a film in my adult life. It truly felt like being a kid again watching a scary movie. My eyes were glued to the screen and I was scanning every frame looking for the it to pop out. It was so much fun. This movie really isn't that scary, but it was so effectively executed that it just terrified me the first time, and it's honestly just one of my favorite movies. Not just favorite horror movies, it's one of my favorite movies. I love it. 5 out of 5. Love it follows. It's the best. I'm gonna go ahead and stop myself right here because they have so many 80s slashers on Tubi. I could make a whole video about that, but I thought I would maybe save that for another day. You guys let me know what you're watching on Tubi. What are your favorites? Thank you so much for watching this video. I greatly appreciate it. Thanks again, Rita. This is all thanks to you and everyone here watching these videos. You guys have been giving me so much support lately. I greatly appreciate it. It's just been I've been having so much fun making these videos, talking to you guys. Let's just keep it going. Let's keep talking about this. I got more videos coming your way, so make sure you're subscribed if you haven't already. Like this video to let me know what you want to see more of here on the channel, and comment to let me know, you know, whatever the hell you're doing. Thank you so much again. I greatly appreciate it. That is it for this video, but I won't stop you from watching another.